A high-value woman is not defined by external achievements, how many degrees she holds or how many followers she has. Her true worth isn't measured by what she looks like, but by how she sees herself. She carries an inner knowing, a quiet confidence that says, I don't need to be chosen to be valuable. I already am. This woman doesn't walk into a room wondering if people will like her. She walks in focused on whether she likes the energy, the environment, the intention of those around her. Knowing her worth means she no longer begs for attention. She doesn't compete for love. She's not afraid of being alone because she understands that peace is better than forced company. She's not interested in impressing anyone. She's focused on expressing her truth, her time, her energy, her emotions. They are not handed out easily. They are reserved for people who earn them. A high-value woman knows what she brings to the table, so she doesn't entertain anything or anyone that treats her like an afterthought. She doesn't settle for lukewarm conversations, flaky behavior, or half-hearted effort. She's not chasing validation through someone else's approval. She validates herself. She does the inner work. She heals. She evolves. And because of that, she doesn't tolerate chaos dressed as chemistry. You won't find her over explaining herself to people who are committed to misunderstanding her. She doesn't argue for her worth because it's not up for debate. She sets standards and sticks to them, not because she's difficult, but because she knows what's aligned with the life she's building. Her standards are not walls to keep people out. They are filters that protect her peace. In relationships, she is not transactional. She doesn't offer love hoping for a return on investment. She gives from a place of fullness. She expects mutual energy, not equal perfection. She knows how to receive, not just give endlessly. She listens to actions over apologies, consistency over charisma, patterns over potential. And if the energy feels off, she doesn't wait around hoping it will change. She chooses herself every time. This woman does not need to be rescued, fixed, or completed. She's not waiting for a man to save her from her own life. She's already in motion, already moving toward her vision. And any man who wants to join her has to come correct because she's not slowing down for anyone who isn't serious. She's not impressed by big talk, future faking, or empty promises. She's looking for someone who shows up now. Knowing her worth also means she's not afraid to walk away from what doesn't serve her. Even if it's familiar, even if it once felt good, even if it hurts, she knows that letting go isn't loss, it's alignment, it's protection. She trusts that what's meant for her won't require her to abandon herself to keep it. A woman who knows her value doesn't feed off the bare minimum. She's not interested in emotional breadcrumbs, those little inconsistent pieces of attention, affection, or validation that come just often enough to keep someone around, but never enough to build anything real. She's been there before. She's tasted the temporary highs of a sweet text after days of silence, the vague compliments that come with no real depth, the promises with no follow through. And now she's done with all of it. This kind of woman has grown beyond the phase of mistaking attention for intention. She doesn't read between the lines of mixed signals. She doesn't excuse inconsistent behavior by clinging to potential. She doesn't stay up wondering if she's asking for too much when all she's asking for is effort, honesty, and consistency, because she's learned that if someone truly values you, their actions won't leave you guessing. Emotional breadcrumbs often come from people who want the benefits of your energy without the responsibility of a real connection. They drop into your life just enough to keep your hopes alive, but never enough to show up fully. They might send a good morning text, like a story, or even say the right things when they feel you pulling away. But there's no depth behind it, no investment, no foundation, and a high-value woman sees through it. She's no longer impressed by surface-level gestures that mean nothing in the long run. She watches patterns, not just moments. She listens to consistency, not chemistry. She knows that real connection isn't built on promises. It's built on presence, a call when it matters, a check-in that isn't just convenient, A man who shows up when it's not easy or entertaining, but necessary and real. This woman has the emotional intelligence to recognize when she's being emotionally starved. She doesn't romanticize struggle. She doesn't glamorize waiting around for someone to figure it out. If she has to beg for clarity, affection, or commitment, it's not worth her time. She understands that love is not supposed to feel like confusion wrapped in hope. Love has a rhythm, a presence, a depth that makes her feel seen, heard, and safe. Not anxious, not exhausted. She's done playing therapist, fixer, or emotional crutch to men who haven't done their own healing. She doesn't see herself as the exception to someone's emotional unavailability. She knows that if a man can't show up for himself, he won't be able to show up for her either. And no amount of potential, attraction, or shared history can make up for emotional inconsistency. When someone gives her less than she deserves, she doesn't shrink or chase. She evaluates. She steps back. Not out of anger, but out of alignment. She recognizes the difference between effort and just enough to keep her around. And she has the self-respect to choose peace over confusion. Every single time, a woman who attracts the best men doesn't make love her only mission. She's not living her life in wait mode, hoping a relationship will bring her fulfillment. She's busy building, focused, grounded in purpose. Her days are filled with intention, not desperation. She doesn't move through the world trying to be chosen. She's choosing herself daily by aligning her life with something deeper than romance. This kind of woman knows who she is outside of a relationship. Her identity isn't wrapped in someone else's attention. She's not postponing her dreams, passions, or growth for the sake of a title or a timeline. She has goals that wake her up in the morning, visions that stretch her beyond comfort, and a calling that keeps her moving forward, whether there's a partner beside her or not, because her purpose isn't paused for partnership. When a woman is walking in purpose, she becomes magnetic, not because she's trying to impress, but because she's in flow. She radiates a sense of self that's rare, and energy that says, I know where I'm going, and I'm not afraid to go alone if I have to. That kind of strength isn't intimidating to the right man. It's attractive. It's inspiring. It challenges him to rise, to match her, to meet her on the level she's on, not pull her down into comfort zones she's already outgrown. She doesn't seek a relationship to complete her. She seeks alignment. She doesn't entertain just anyone who offers attention. She chooses based on energy, values, and direction. She's not swayed by smooth talk or superficial charm. She asks the deeper questions. Is this person walking in purpose too? Do they have vision? Are they rooted in something greater than appearances? Because partnership to her isn't about filling a void. It's about building something meaningful. And when she's in a relationship, she doesn't lose herself. She doesn't abandon her goals to make room for someone else's comfort. She integrates. She balances. She supports, but not at the cost of her identity. Her purpose remains intact because she understands that the right relationship won't compete with it. It will complement it. It will fuel it. It will expand it. She also understands that purpose comes with seasons. Some seasons are meant for solitude, growth, and focus. Others allow space for connection. But in all seasons, she honors the bigger picture. She doesn't settle into relationships that slow her down or distract her from what she's here to do. She's learned the hard way that chemistry without shared direction is a trap. It feels good, but it goes nowhere. This woman refuses to shrink herself to fit into someone else's small world. She's not rearranging her life for inconsistent men or half-hearted love. Her eyes are on the bigger vision. She's not just living for date nights and romantic moments. She's building legacy, impact, fulfillment. Her happiness isn't delayed until someone shows up. It's cultivated in the life she's already creating. A woman who attracts the best men doesn't scream, threaten, or demand to be treated well. She simply expects it. She doesn't try to control anyone's behavior because she knows her power isn't in force. It's in standards. Clear, calm, and unapologetic standards that act as boundaries, not barricades. She's not in the business of begging someone to act right. She leads with clarity, not fear, with self-respect, not ego. When she communicates, it's not with manipulation or emotional games. She doesn't say, if you don't do this, I'm gone, hoping it will provoke fear or change. She doesn't need to use ultimatums because she's already made peace with what she will and will not accept. Her words are routed in alignment. If a situation doesn't match her values, she doesn't argue. She exits. This woman understands that standards are not about being rigid or demanding. They are a reflection of self-worth. They're the emotional, mental, and spiritual non-negotiables that shape how she allows others to treat her. She's not impossible to please. She's just not easily impressed. She knows the difference between effort and theatrics. She sees through apologies without change. She listens to how someone shows up after the conversation, not just during it. She also knows how to express her standards with grace. She doesn't humiliate, belittle, or punish. She speaks her truth directly, but with maturity. She knows that emotional safety is created through communication, not control. So she speaks to be understood, not to dominate, and she listens too, but she never compromises her core values just to keep the peace. Peace without truth is not peace, it's performance, and she's done performing. Men respect her, not out of fear, but because she respects herself. She creates an environment where healthy love can thrive. Not the kind built on walking on eggshells, but the kind built on mutual respect, clear communication, and shared responsibility. She makes it known early on what kind of energy she welcomes and what kind she releases. That way, there's no confusion. She doesn't hold people hostage with emotional ultimatums. She doesn't wait until she's angry to finally express how she feels. She's proactive, not reactive. She knows that healthy relationships don't need to be threatened to grow. They need to be nurtured with honesty, integrity, and mutual effort. If someone falls short, she doesn't go into panic mode. She observes, she speaks, and she lets their response reveal whether they're capable of rising to her level or if it's time to move on. A woman like this holds herself to the same standard she expects from others. She doesn't ask for what she's not willing to give, but she also won't shrink herself to keep someone comfortable. She's not afraid to walk alone if that's what self-respect requires. Not because she's harsh or cold, but because she understands that real love doesn't require ultimatums. It rises naturally to meet the standard. A woman who consistently attracts high-quality love isn't out here chasing, proving, or convincing. She radiates something much more powerful. Inner peace. It's in her presence, her energy, her silence. She doesn't need to speak loudly to be heard. She doesn't need to force connections or rush intimacy. Her calm confidence speaks volumes. She knows who she is, and she no longer seeks emotional validation from outside herself. Desperation is loud. It clings. It over-explains. It tolerates things that should have been walked away from long ago. But peace is still. It's grounded. It's selective. And that's what makes it magnetic. A woman who is at peace with herself has done the work. She's looked at her patterns. She's healed from the wounds that used to control her. She no longer entertains love that comes dressed in choice and calls it passion. She no longer overextends, over-accommodates, or over-apologizes. She knows the cost of abandoning herself just to keep someone else comfortable, and she's not willing to pay that price anymore. She's no longer driven by the fear of being alone. She's learned that solitude is not a punishment, it's a sanctuary. In that space, she's met herself, and now no man can offer her peace if she hasn't already found it within. This kind of woman no longer feels the need to rush. She lets relationships unfold naturally. She observes. She listens. She watches how someone shows up, not just when it's convenient, but when it counts. She doesn't fall in love with potential. She connects with presence. She knows that when someone is meant to stay, they won't need to be chased or coerced. She attracts not through effort, but through alignment. Her energy is steady. She's not up one moment and down the next, depending on someone else's level of attention. She's emotionally regulated. She knows how to soothe her own insecurities instead of projecting them. That doesn't mean she's cold or detached. It means she's whole. She can express vulnerability without falling apart. She can give without losing herself. She can love without clinging. Men feel the difference. They sense the ease in her energy, the absence of pressure. There's no hidden agenda, no unspoken desperation to be saved or completed. She's not trying to use a relationship to fix her life. She's already done the inner work to create a life she loves. And because she's not trying to fill a void, she's not attracted to men who create them. She naturally repels emotionally unavailable, inconsistent, or immature partners because she no longer mirrors their instability. She moves with intention, not fear. She speaks from clarity, not anxiety. She gives with openness, not attachment. Her boundaries are rooted in self-love, not punishment. And the way she carries herself is a reflection of a woman who's no longer waiting for someone else to bring her peace, because she is the peace. A woman who knows her worth doesn't entertain men based on words alone. She's not moved by promises or potential. She's not easily swayed by someone who says they want something real, but shows up with half effort and inconsistent energy. She's done with the fantasy. She's choosing reality now. And that means she chooses men who are ready, not just men who are willing. There's a difference. A willing man says the right things. He'll talk about a future. He'll agree with your values. He'll nod when you speak of commitment and growth. But when it's time to show up, really show up, he hesitates. He stalls. He gets overwhelmed. He disappears when things get too real. Willing men often have good hearts, but they're emotionally unavailable. They want love, but they haven't done the work to hold it. A woman who attracts the best men can see the difference early. She's learned to listen closely, not just to words, but to follow through. She pays attention to how a man handles pressure, how he communicates through conflict, how he holds space for vulnerability, not just hers, but his own. She looks for the capacity to love, not just the desire, because desire without readiness leads to cycles of frustration, confusion, and unmet expectations. She doesn't waste time trying to fix or rescue someone who isn't ready. She's not signing up to be a man's emotional rehab center. She's not confusing chemistry with compatibility or shared trauma with deep connection. She knows how to walk away from almost ready, not quite there, still figuring it out relationships, because she's clear on what she wants, and she's even clearer on what she won't tolerate anymore. A ready man is different. He doesn't just want love. He's prepared to build it. He has done his inner work. He's faced his fears, healed some wounds, and taken responsibility for his past. He doesn't expect a woman to fix his brokenness or carry his emotional load. He values communication, accountability, and consistency. He's not afraid of emotional intimacy. In fact, he welcomes it because he's strong enough to hold it. The woman who chooses this type of man isn't looking for a perfect partner. She's looking for an intentional one, someone who can meet her where she is, not drag her backwards or hold her in limbo. She doesn't measure a man's worth by how much he likes her. She looks at how he lives, what he prioritizes, how he treats people when no one's watching. She chooses men who align with her values, not just her feelings. She knows that love isn't just about timing. It's about readiness. Is he ready to lead with integrity, ready to love with intention, ready to show up, not just when it's easy, but when it's inconvenient, uncomfortable, and real? These are the questions she asks now, because she's no longer trying to convince someone to choose her. She's choosing herself first and only making space for someone who's already doing the same. At the core of it all, the women who consistently attract the best men are not chasing love. They're embodying it, not just the romantic kind, but the kind rooted in self-respect, peace, clarity, and purpose. These women don't get caught up in temporary attention or surface level charm. They've done the work. They've learned to protect their energy, honor their standards, and prioritize alignment over attachment. They don't settle for emotional breadcrumbs because they know what consistency looks like. They don't abandon their goals for partnership because they understand that real love doesn't require sacrifice of self. It supports expansion. They don't use ultimatums to demand respect. They speak with clarity and let actions sort the rest. And they don't entertain men who aren't ready because they've become too rooted to be moved by potential alone. These women don't attract the best men by chance. They do it by choice. And that choice starts with who they've become on the inside. Because when you know your value, you won't entertain anything that doesn't reflect it. The best men recognize that kind of woman instantly, not because she demands to be seen, but because her presence makes it impossible to ignore.